Good afternoon, everybody. It is January 10th, 2024. We've got breaking news today about Vincent Kennedy McMahon, a story we've been following very closely, at least in part, seems to have come to a resolution. And I want to be clear about this before we get into it. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of rumor and innuendo and honestly a lot of misinformation about there with regards to this story, with regards to what this means, even misinformation being peddled by the former WWE chairman, Vincent Kennedy McMahon himself. We're going to talk about what all of this means. You may have heard the news, or at least the headline, that the case is closed against Vince McMahon. We're going to talk about what that means. I will say from the jump, though, this does not mean, and I repeat, this does not mean that the Janelle Grant lawsuit nor the Ring Boy lawsuit that was recently filed in Maryland court are done and over with. This is just the SEC federal investigation that was happening against Vince McMahon. We will talk about exactly what the SEC had to say, what Vince McMahon's response was, what Ann Callis has to say, and so much more. But yeah, Taco Kid in the chat says, don't quote me, but I've seen so much misinformation, but I've heard the Janelle Grant case is still going. Can confirm that it's still going. We will talk about this, and I will break this down in depth as much as I possibly inept to, which I feel like is enough of a deal to tell you guys what the hell is going on, because it is honestly, like, I thought wrestling fans were a lot smarter than this. I should not have, well, most are, I think. I still think most are. There's just a lot of bad faith people out there who want to say certain things. Anyway, we'll talk about it, though, guys. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Actually, you know what? We might as well just get into it. People will join when they join. If you're trickling in, hello, welcome to the program. Breaking news today as the SEC finally came down with their ruling on the Vince McMahon saga. So in a new press release, the SEC actually announced settlements for Vince McMahon. You can read the title there, Vince McMahon, former CEO of WWE, charged for failure to disclose to WWE 2 settlement agreements he executed on behalf of WWE. I want to be clear here. There's a lot of misinformation about what's going on. This does not mean that the Janelle Grant lawsuit nor the Ring Boy lawsuit, any of the civil lawsuits, I should say, against McMahon are done. This does not mean they are done. Again, we will talk about Vince's reaction. He had a quote that was pretty brash, to be quite honest, that we're going to take a look at. We're also going to take a look at an article from Post Wrestling that kind of breaks this down in, I think, a very effective way. But first, here is the press release from the Security Exchange Commission, the SEC, which has been investigating McMahon for the better part of the past year and a half. So the press release reads as follows. Security and Exchange Commission today announced the settled charges against Vince McMahon, the former executive chairman and CEO of World Wrestling Entertainment, Inc., for signing 2 settlement agreements, one in 2019 and one in 2022 on behalf of himself and WWE without disclosing the agreements to WWE's board of directors, legal departments, accountants, financial reporting personnel, or auditor. Doing so circumvented WWE's system of internal accounting control and caused material misstatements in WWE's 2018 and 2022 financial statements. Now, this is basically why the SEC was investigating McMahon, because essentially McMahon had made these hush money payments on behalf of both himself and WWE, and the money for this was not accounted for on WWE's part, at least. It was not accounted for in their taxes, in their filings, in none of the things that should have been with the Security and Exchange Commission. And because of that, obviously, that led to some significant number of miscalculations in reports that WWE filed, and McMahon at the end of the day is liable for that. The press release goes on to read, according to the SEC's order, one settlement agreement obligated McMahon to pay the former employee $3 million in exchange for the former employee's agreement to not disclose her relationship with McMahon and her release of potential claims against WWE and McMahon, and the second agreement obligated McMahon to pay a former WWE independent contractor $7.5 million in exchange for the independent contractor's agreement to not disclose her allegations against McMahon and her release of potential claims against WWE and McMahon. So, just so you guys are aware, the $3 million to a former employee, that has been indicated that is Janelle Grant, or that is associated with the Janelle Grant case. The $7.5 million, obviously to an independent contractor, was a exorbitant amount that has been at least reported, and again, not confirmed, but reported to be a former WWE contracted wrestler. Again, that is the reporting. That is what has been put out there. However, that has not been confirmed. It is just kind of assumed to be that. The report goes on to say the SEC order finds that because the payments required by the 2019 and 2022 agreements were not recorded, WWE overstated its 2018 net income by approximately 8% and its 2021 net income by approximately 1.7%. In addition, according to those orders, these payments should have been disclosed as related party transactions. The order finds the McMahon signed management representation letters that were provided to WWE's auditors did not include the existence of either settlement agreement. After learning that the settlement agreements, WWE issued the restatement of financial statements in August 2022. And this is from Thomas P. Smith, the Associate Regional Director of the New York Regional Office for the SEC. Company executives cannot enter into material agreements on behalf of the company they serve and withhold that information from the company's control functions and auditors. Basically, Vince McMahon, as the CEO, you cannot just go and do things on behalf of the company, paying people hush money, and not at least report it to the company. Because obviously that's got them into a bit of financial trouble here, as it has, and it's made this into a pretty prominent thing. Final paragraph here that necessary for us to read. McMahon consented to the entry of the SEC's order finding that he violated the Security Exchange Act by knowingly circumventing WWE's internal accounting controls, and that he directly or indirectly made or caused to be false or misleading statements to WWE's auditor. The order also finds that McMahon was caused WWE's violations of the reporting and books and records provisions of the Exchange Act. And here it is. Without admitting or denying the SEC's findings, McMahon agreed to cease and desist from violating these provisions, pay $400,000 civil penalty, and reimburse WWE to the tune of $1.3+ million, pursuant to Section 304A of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. Okay, that is part one of our act here. But essentially, Vince is not going to prison, and it seems like the federal investigation, the federal part of all of this, has been put away. There was talk about him potentially having to be served time in relation to a separate kind of quasi investigation from the federal officials regarding trafficking. That seems to not be moving forward. This would indicate if they were going to do it, they were going to do it all at one time. And on top of that, the penalty for the SEC violations, $400,000 in civil penalties, and then $1.3+ million having to pay back to WWE for the accounting errors. And we also need to remember that in addition to this, Vince has already basically paid WWE for all of the investigations they've done in relation to all of this controversy, this entire scandal, which has probably cost him to the tune of a couple of $1 million. So that has been the price for this. I think, and we will read Vince's statement, which is a damn statement, I will say. We will read his statement in just a second, but The takeaway here is that the basically the SEC said that there were accounting errors made and there was no reason to take this any further. That's kind of what it is. There's obviously a lot of reasons why this could have happened. Lack of evidence, lack of there's also like the idea that, and I'm going to be up front here, there's also the idea that under a new president in Donald Trump who has a lot of ties to McMahon, with Linda McMahon being the incoming, or one of the nominees, I should say, for Secretary of Education. There's a lot of talk about him potentially being pardoned due to his ties to Trump, which if you're a federal investigator, if you're a federal prosecutor who is the one that really is the person who decides whether or not this moves forward, how far do you want to take it if you feel like all of your effort and all of the money and all of the resources are going to be wasted and it's going to end in a presidential pardon? I think that's a very real outcome that influences some of these decisions. Now, let's go to Vince McMahon's statement on the matter. This was something he released via Twitter earlier today. It says, quote, "The case is closed. Today ends nearly 3 years of investigation by different governmental agencies. There has been a great deal of speculation about what exactly the government was investigating and what the outcome would be. As today's resolution shows, much of that speculation was misguided and misleading. In the end, there was never anything more to this than minor accounting errors with regard to some personal payments that I made several years ago while I was CEO of WWE. I'm thrilled I can now put all this behind me." But the reality is he cannot, because despite what his statement says, and there's a lot of people online who are not getting the picture, who apparently can't read, this is only the government part of this. There are still multiple civil lawsuits against McMahon. I'm going to put it to you in words that everyone can understand. O.J. Simpson got off, but he still lost his civil lawsuits, and they still found him liable for the deaths of his ex-wife and her friend. And I'm not saying that Vince is a murderer, but I'm just trying to give you an explanation about how this stuff works. There's a civil side to this. There's a federal side to this. There's a legal side to this. Both of them go in different ways. Okay, now let's talk about the other side of this, that being what all of this means. There is a fantastic article up on Post Wrestling right now. Link for it is in the description, or at least will be, that kind of discusses what all of this means and also shares a quote from Ann Callis, who is the attorney for Janelle Grant, excuse me. And we're just going to go actually to this paragraph. McMahon has been fined $400,000 and will reimburse WWE for $1.3+ million, according to the SEC's press release. While not admitting or denying the SEC's findings, the agency's statement said McMahon also agreed to cease and desist from violating the government rules. These agreements, signed in 2019-2022, caused WWE to improperly report its financial statements to the SEC in 2018 and 2021. And then we get into more contextualization of what these hush money payments were for. The 2019 agreement for $7.5 million in exchange for an independent contractor's agreement not to disclose her allegations against McMahon and to release him and WWE of any claims. The Wall Street Journal reported that in 2022, that McMahon agreed to pay a former WWE talent whose name has not been disclosed $7.5 million as part of a non-disclosure settlement. McMahon allegedly coerced the former talent into giving him oral sex, demoted her when she rejected his further advances, and then later in 2005, her contract was not renewed. The 2022 agreement for $3 million was presumably with former WWE paralegal Janelle Grant. Though the SEC statement does not name her, Grant alleges that she was sexually assaulted and trafficked by McMahon throughout their relationship from 2019 to 2022. It also goes on to have a statement from Janelle Grant's lawyer, Ann Callis. Grant's lead attorney, Ann Callis, provided a statement on Friday after this story broke, insisting that the criminal investigation is still on. And here's the statement, quote, during his time leading WWE, Vince McMahon acted as if the rules did not apply to him. Now we have confirmation that he repeatedly broke the law to cover up his horrifying behavior, including human trafficking. She added the SEC charges prove that the NDA Vince McMahon coerced Ms. Grant into signing violates the law, and therefore her case must be heard in court. While prosecutors for the Southern District of New York continue their criminal investigation, we look forward to bringing forward new evidence in our civil case about the sexual exploitation of Ms. Grant endured at WWE by Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis. Okay, so that was the post-wrestling article. Highly recommend you guys go check it out for further details and contextualization. Of course, Ann Callis there states that she foresees that the federal investigation could move forward, which it very well possibly could. However, I would say, having kind of like seen the way the legal process tends to move on these things, if they weren't going to do it here, then it's not completely impossible that they wouldn't do it later on, but it tells me that they are not going to at least move this forward. And Vince seems to be thrilled by it, as his statement kind of pointed there. And that it's interesting because, again, people will say that this saga is over. I would argue that it is really just beginning, because you have the Janelle Grant case, which is going to continue some point in 2025. You have the Ring Boy case, which is really only going to start up in the next couple of months in Maryland. And that really, there's going to be some very damning things that come out of that are already floating out there. Like, I mean, there is that New York Post article that came out where Vince basically admitted to bringing back in a former WWE employee, bringing him back into the fold after he knew about I'm paraphrasing here, but an issue he had with little boys. And Vince knew that Mel Brooks, who was a former WWE employee, he knew that Mel Brooks had an infatuation for young boys, not young men, young boys, and that he would target them. And he brought him back into WWE knowing this. And again, there's going to be a lot of stuff that with relation to that specific case that will come out that has already been kind of covered, but I think will be covered in a way that is going to shock people, especially those who have been defiant in their defense of Vince McMahon. But again, it is this was a pretty big moment as far as, where the federal side of things kind of are and where that's going to go. We will see. Again, there's always a chance that the federal government comes back, the Southern District of New York, says that actually our investigation found something more, and here's what it is. What that could be, we will see. But given the fact that they paused the civil lawsuit so they could have their investigation, and now that the civil lawsuit has resumed for about over a month now, and we've heard nothing other than this from the federal government, it is, I'm just, I don't know. Perhaps I'm pessimistic. Again, I'm not a lawyer by any means, but I am someone who has read up on a lot of these cases. I'm also someone who knows a thing or two about PR, having worked in marketing and PR for a while now. And Vince's statement, if we go back to it real quick, this really looks like a well-crafted statement that wants to set the narrative that, hey guys, there's nothing to see here. Even in the use of the first sentence, the case is closed. What that statement essentially wants to get across is the idea that, look, if you are reading this, look at this, here's some truth. The SEC said that I am not facing jail time, that I'm just getting this fine, even though Vince McMahon agreed that he violated the law, that he did illegal acts, whatever. But he is using that truth that he was not charged with specifically sex trafficking, which is what he allegedly was being investigated for. But again, and this is like a tactic in PR, that he was not charged with that. Here's what I was, and it was a simple accounting error, and I'm just going to pay the money back. So if you hear anything, you see anything, if, anyone says anything otherwise, they're lying. This is one of those things where you set the narrative. What Vince McMahon and his PR team is trying to do here is set a narrative that they are innocent. And this, for whatever reason, proves it. And you're going to hear a lot of people be like, I don't get it. I thought the Janelle Grant stuff was done. Vince said it was done, wasn't it? And you're going to hear a lot of confusion about that. And that is deliberate. That is deliberate. This is something that is done in PR. This is, call it the case closed strategy, whatever you want to call it. But it is designed to get that impression in people's head that, well, Vince said the case is closed. Why is all this stuff moving forward? And then once it starts to move forward, you're going to have all the Glazers of Vince McMahon be like, well, this is a witch hunt. Well, this is they're going out of their way to do something to an innocent man. When, again, the civil process has not played out yet. It's aggressive PR, but it's effective PR. And you're going to hear a lot of people over the next probably couple of days, potentially next few months, who are going to defend Vince McMahon, ride for him, die for him, and all of the above, who, again, have nothing but incentive, or are just confused because of that statement and the narratives that are going to come out of it. So it really is like a lot more. There's a lot more thought into this than I think you guys would otherwise believe. But that's kind of what we have here. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. We have one chat here from Mike. What's up, Mike? Hopefully you're doing well. Why am I not surprised? The bastard is getting away scot-free with no consequences. I will say this. There is still a civil side of this. And again, the Southern District of New York has not said that they will like not be charging McMahon. However, the general inclination is that they probably won't. And again, I am not a lawyer. I'm just going off of what I'm hearing from people I kind of know have been following this closely, who have expertise, who understand this even better than I do. And having read up on some of these cases in the past, I would be surprised. But we will see. Obviously, anything can happen. We know that this entire situation has been fluid over the past couple of years, and it's changed. It's taken a lot of different twists and turns, but we will see what happens from here on out. It's going to be something. That's all I can say. I knew Vince would win this. He won. He won the SEC part. He didn't win anything else. The civil lawsuits are still moving forward. This, again, does not impact at all the civil lawsuits against him. Janelle Grant, all that stuff is still going to move forward, as I stated before, despite what Vince McMahon's statement may insinuate. It's just very, very aggressive PR and nothing more. But yeah. But obviously, I'm here for the next little bit, another few minutes here to talk about this, guys, if you want to. But it is, again, I just wanted to get in here and talk about this because I knew that it was something that people were going to be interested in. Are we expecting a billionaire to go to jail, though? No. Definitely not with the current system in place, and definitely not with the president that's coming in the next couple of months. So I think billionaires are going to be just fine, unfortunately. And again, that's just what happens. Billionaires get off scot-free with whatever illegal shit they want to do. You have a billionaire who's going to be in the ear of the president. Literally the world's richest man, Lex Luthor, is going to be in the ear of the president, saying whatever the fuck he wants on all these goofy ideas. That's it. It's not great. Did it? I mean, we'll see. If Vince, it's a real thing. If Vince McMahon does pay her back the $3 million, the $3 million is not the issue here. Janelle Grant is moving this case forward into civil litigation. That is the issue. I think that it's not just a matter of $3 million and paying her back. This is, again, I think Janelle Grant and Callis have made it clear that their goal here is to bring to light facts that are going to make Vince McMahon not only liable for what he allegedly did, but also essentially bring to light the truth of the culture that Vince McMahon created in WWE. Man has gotten away with murder. I mean, to anyone thought he would go to jail, you have to be completely out of your mind. I'm just waiting for the day when he comes back to his own company. It will not happen. If Vince McMahon comes back to WWE, that would be... I don't think TKO is going to take that PR hit. They know that. I don't think they're going to take that PR hit. And yeah, I guess we're getting away with murder. I mean, of course, you have the alleged incident. I'm going to say alleged because I'm not trying to get myself in any trouble here. But you have the alleged incident where, Jimmy Snuka murdered Nancy Argentino. And somehow, some way, WWE allegedly made that go away. Again, allegedly. Shout to Jesus and Mero, allegedly's everywhere. But yeah, and Vince and people say that Vince was behind that. But again, allegedly, we don't know. Linda's now the head of education. There's no way Vince is gonna go down. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. There would have always been that pardon potentially looming, especially the way Trump kind of talks about Vince in that respect. There's more of a chance of Vince coming to AEW than going back to WWE. I mean, sure, but I mean, I don't think that Tony would let AEW die before he brought Vince into that company, even for like a one-off. I genuinely believe that. I 100% believe that. But yeah. Also, Mark Zuckerberg was on Rogan. Oh, my God. The billionaires are taking over, people. Hide. Run. Hide. The other part of this that, I probably should talk about is Vince has been waiting to kind of start up this media company that he's been talking about. There's this idea that he would start a media company with some of the former officials that he had under him in WWE, Brad Blum being one of them. It has not been said that it would be a wrestling company. It's been said more of like a production house kind of thing and producing movies and TV. I do think, though, if Vince does get the time away from these lawsuits to ever like focus on that, I think I think he would start a wrestling company. I think he just couldn't stay away. Imagine Vince McMahon and Saudi Arabia join forces to buy WWE, selling them. I don't think that's happening. Fun idea, or not fun idea, horrible idea, really. But TKO is all in on WWE, and with the merger of UFC and WWE, it wouldn't just be them buying WWE. That would be a complicated mess to pull off. And for Saudi, I don't think it would be worth their while, to be honest, with the amount of money it would take for them to give the TKO. Remember, TKO merged with WWE at a $9 billion valuation. I do not think for WWE, I do not, and like they would expect excesses of that. Like you're probably talking at least $15 to $20 billion. That's all they would have to pay for WWE, and I don't think they're going to do that. Not by a long shot. Who makes more revenue, UFC or WWE? Oh, UFC. Certainly UFC. It's Taco Kid. No, that ain't happening. Yeah, it's not. Not by a long shot, as Stone Cold would say. What's this? So someone just showed a video of Bret Hart. Oh dear. Oh no. All right. Well, I'm not gonna post that video or show that video. So he has $14 trillion. They do. I just look. They are investing in a lot of different entities. I just do not think they're going to invest in WWE. Not to that tune. Not to the tune of $20 billion. Vince is little to live, though. He is going to get away with everything and pass away. That man has gone through so much stress, all those enhancers, allegedly, and the heart doesn't live. I mean, I want to be clear. I think Vince is like in my view, he's a piece of shit. I think that much is clear. You can even take away, literally take away the most horrible stuff he's done. He's still a piece of shit. He's a bully. I just don't. I just would not put it past him. I think he's very stubborn. I think he's very stubborn. Definitely too stubborn to die. That easily, at least. Oh, we got a non-Vince chat here. What do you think of Ospreay and Omega teaming up as Goku and Vegeta? That'd be a badass pairing. Give me Ospreay. I don't care. I do care where it happens. Forget Revolution. At Grand Slam, Australia, give me Ospreay and Omega versus Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. Make that tag team match happen, baby. Make it happen. Make it so. Or give me Kyle Fletcher versus Omega at Grand Slam, and then give us the tag team match at Revolution. That would be a badass match. And then have Takeshita versus Omega, and have Omega win the international title. Tell me when I'm telling lies. Tell me when I'm telling lies, people. Oh dear, JD, what are you doing online now? Anyway, I'm searching through Twitter while I'm doing this. All right, guys. Well, this has been an interesting time. Why have I seen Jeff Jarrett is having a feud with MJF? What has happened to MJF, man? I think I think the Jeff Jarrett thing is fine because it makes sense, and honestly, I think MJF is probably better as a heel. I'm going to enjoy it for what it is. I like Jeff Jarrett as a wrestler, as a human. Mixed feelings for sure. The Casper Gold shit was wild. But, bro, come on. MJF doing MJF things. Let's do it. Ospreay and Omega versus Seth Rollins and CM Punk. That shit ain't happening, but that'll be a fun-ass match. CM Punk is not doing that match. As far as, an in-ring stuff, I don't know if he can keep up with that. Rollins can do it. Rollins can do that style. Punk he would be the hot tag, and he would be in there for 5 minutes. He could not handle that much heat. Shout out to CM Punk. He's one of my favorite wrestlers ever, but he could not handle that. Anyway. All right, guys. This has been real. I appreciate all of y'all. We'll be having a real edition of Wrestling with Umar on Saturday, or on Sunday. No, Saturday, that's tomorrow. The Ravens are playing, and I got to go watch my Ravens kick that Steeler ass. So it's going to be fun. Anyway, guys, it's been real. Thank you so much. Got videos coming up. I have a video on Malachi Black already up on the channel. Got to clip the Vince McMahon stuff and post that on the channel as well. Just had a video up on Wrestle Vibes about who I think should win the Royal Rumble. So go check that out. YouTube.com/Wrestle Vibes. Follow me on X at Real OMERQ. Follow Real Take Wrestling on X at Real Take W. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, love y'all, and keep it real. Happy Friday, by the way.